Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates, and in today's video we're going to have a look at the latest from the live radar, run through the UKV, have a look at the precipitation and the temperature over the next 5 days, as it's looking fairly unsettled the next couple of days with some persistent rain through much of Wednesday. We can even see it on the live radar at the moment. But as we head towards the weekend, we could see some higher pressure trying to build in, at least for the north and the east, and it could allow colder conditions to prevail as well. Again, nothing extreme, but cold enough to give widespread temperatures, really only in the mid to high single digits in the day, and perhaps widespread frosts overnight. And high pressure being an influence is looking like a pattern that could reoccur in the longer range as well. As we saw in yesterday's video, there were lots of runs showing some blocking developing. No real major consensus with the positioning of that blocking, but definitely we're showing some significant high pressure building to our north and or east. And today that pattern does continue. Again, no major consensus, but pretty much all the runs showing high pressure ridging to our north, trying to build in, try to settle things down and pull in some colder air. So we'll explore that in the second half of the video. So do remember, if you enjoy my videos, make sure to like and subscribe, and remember to follow me on Twitter as well, the link's in the description. Now, if you start on the live radar, you can see it has been a fairly fine day for most areas, but there have been some pesky showers across parts of Wales, northwest England, up towards western Scotland as well. And you can see through this evening, as I'm calling this Tuesday evening, we can see heavy rain now drifting in from the west, and that's going to give widespread heavy rain for most areas through Wednesday. Now, it is likely to drop all this rain during daylight hours and clear eastern areas by around 5 or 6 p.m. tomorrow evening. So, yeah, it does move through pretty quickly. Not going to see any flooding issues with it or anything. But unfortunately, all that rain does fall during the daylight hours, meaning it is going to be a pretty miserable day tomorrow. Skies will clear. Maybe a bit of back edge sunshine through tomorrow evening, but most areas it's going to stay pretty gloomy until it does get dark, unfortunately. But as I said, into the weekend, things are looking a little bit drier, perhaps tentative signs of a little bit of higher pressure building in, and of course a bit of colder conditions. Now, you can see at the moment temperatures are generally pretty chilly, nothing crazy, but generally average to below average. And you can see those lighter blues across much of Scotland, which is indicating temperatures around the freezing mark. So pretty cold there, but again, that is expected. We are heading into the middle of November and the back edge of autumn. And of course, we'll be into winter in around 3 and a bit weeks' time. So cold conditions across Scotland, not too unusual, but definitely still slightly below average for the time of year. Now, if you look at the latest UKV and follow the precipitation and the temperature over the next 5 days, you can see through much of this afternoon it was pretty fine. But rainfall moving in overnight tonight, and for much of Wednesday it's going to rain, unfortunately. Most of the rain is relatively light to moderate in intensity. Could be a few heavier pulses, but as I said, mostly light to moderate, and is dominating most of the daylight hours. As I said, it should clear by around 4, 5, 6 p.m, but there will still be some lingering cloud and some heavy showers pushing into the west. Behind the weather front, we'll continue to see lots of heavy showers through Thursday. No persistent bands of rain, really. Into Friday as well, we're going to see more heavy showers and potentially a little bit of persistent rain through the early morning there, like overnight hours. Again, uncertainty with that, as it looks like it's a bit of a disturbance. And then as we head into Friday afternoon to the evening, again, could see some more showers around. And then into the weekend, we see a bit of a battleground. Low pressure approaching from the southwest. But look at this, widely pretty dry through much of Saturday. So we see high pressure trying to build in and trying and attempting to pull easterly winds. And you can see the weather front to our south really has no luck trying to push in. And much of the weekend here from the latest UKV stays pretty fine and dry, but I must emphasise it will be pretty cold. If we look at those upper air temperatures, widely below freezing at 850 HPA, Scotland down to -3 to -5, which will be temperatures mid to low single digits in the day for Scotland and well below freezing overnight. Now, if you look at those max temperatures, you can see earlier today, temperatures widely around that 10 to 12 degree mark, but it is going to be cooling down as said towards the weekend. Overnight tonight, temperatures around the mid-single digits, not falling away all too much, but that's because we've got cloud building in ahead of that weather front. And through much of tomorrow, it is going to feel cold out there, mid to high single digits behind the weather front, maybe 12 to 13 degrees underneath and ahead of it, but widely it's going to feel pretty cold and miserable. Into Thursday, as we are seeing that weather front move through, it is bringing some fresher polar maritime air in. Nothing amazingly cold, but cold enough to give frost across Scotland there into Thursday morning. And through much of Thursday, again, it's going to remain fairly chilly. Most areas struggling around that sort of 6 to 9 degrees mark. And then finally into Friday, look at that. Cold across Scotland for many into Friday morning, and then Friday afternoon again struggling into the mid to high single digits, and Saturday looks even colder, widely seeing a frost across much of Northern England and Scotland, even into parts of the Republic of Ireland and Northern Ireland there, and then Saturday afternoon, look at that, really struggling widely around that sort of 5 to maybe as high as 9 or 10 in a few isolated spots, and then overnight, look at that, dropping away well towards the low single digits or freezing there for Sunday morning, and then Sunday afternoon once again many areas struggling in the mid to high single digits. So yes, turning a bit drier towards the weekend, but turning quite a bit colder as well. Not only the thermometer temperature dropping by a couple of degrees, the feel like temperature will drop as well, making it feel pretty chilly out there, more like we're heading towards winter. Now, if you look at the longer range now, this is the really interesting, as this could give us a taste of what there is to come as we progress through November. Now, you can see low pressure coming in off the Atlantic over the next few days. That's going to give the generally unsettled conditions through Wednesday into Thursday, but you can see the low pressure does fill in as it moves through, so it should turn less intense as the week moves on. Then into the weekend, high pressure does build in, but nowhere near as significant here as the UKV was showing. The high pressure to our north and east is there, but it's nowhere near as strong, and the GFS actually does have lower pressure winning out here as we head into next week. But you can still see the Scandinavian high is building, just not dominating, and this is where we do see the discrepancy in the models. We've got some models building that high pressure in and allowing it to pull in an easterly flow with chilly, dry conditions, but equally other runs where the high pressure builds like this GFS, but still can't block off the Atlantic lows. Into the longer term, we still see high pressure to our northeast, low pressure out to our west, continue to try and bring westerly winds in, and right towards the extended range, eventually some Scandinavian high pressure systems start to win out, and we send the jet stream much further southwards. If we look at the upper air temperatures, you can see much colder air drifting in for Scotland, a bit of a channel low developing, and if we were in midwinter times, you'd expect to see quite a lot of snow with this sort of pattern, but being middle to end of November, this is going to be a lot of cold rain. If we do zoom into the United Kingdom, if we look at those 2 metre temperatures, look at that, 3 or 4 degrees at midday there on the 23rd of November. If this pattern came off with lots of heavy rain, feeling really quite miserable. So GFS does go quite a bit colder, but does remain fairly unsettled. Has that blocking building in, but doesn't allow it to dominate anywhere near as much as some other runs were showing over the past few days and today as well. If you look at the latest GM, again, low pressure coming off the Atlantic over the next few days. Again, high pressure attempting to build in toward the longer term. And again, similar to the GFS, the high pressure is there to our northeast, but it struggles to hold off the Atlantic. A bit of a battle here, with very warm air pushing up from the south, but very cold air out to Scandinavia. You can see this from the temperature deviation. A bit of a cold pool to our northeast, a bit more scattered and spread out here, but below average, and then above average to our southwest. Fighting about which sort of air mass will dominate. And after you compare the ECMWF, again, westerly winds continue to come in off the Atlantic, keeping us pretty unsettled. High pressure does build in for the weekend, but again, nowhere near as strong as the UKV was showing. Eventually, low pressure does run back in, but look to our north, there's still quite a big area of high pressure, and right towards day 10 is a very muddled pattern with small areas of high pressure still to our north, still a bit of a Scandinavian high. We're kind of in no man's land here. Very light winds, generally average to below average air, so it'd be cold and dry, nothing amazingly cold, but definitely on the chilly side. If we put in the 2 metre temperatures here, you can see again, this is from a longer range model, this isn't even high resolution, really struggling around the 5 to 8 degree mark, and you'd expect to see sunshine here. Add on a bit of rain, add on a bit of more thicker cloud, and the overnight temperatures, it will feel a hell of a lot colder than this ECMWF run is showing. So you can see all three runs are quite different. Their overall synoptics in terms of having a high pressure system built to our north, or at least fragments of high pressure to our north, is very similar, but the outcomes are quite a bit different. Although do show a bit of a colder trend, or at least colder spells, and drier spells, importantly as well. Now, if you finish by looking at the latest ensembles, this is the latest GFS ensemble, goes out to the next sort of 15, 16 days. You see there very much is an up and down to the ensembles. In the longer range, we've got some very warm runs, we've got some very cold runs. Generally, the ensemble mean is coming around average, a couple dips above and below from sort of the 15th of November onwards. Precipitation is actually still pretty high, so perhaps still quite a few ensemble members predicting rainfall. The 2-meter temperatures are on a bit of an upwards trend and then a downwards trend again. So as we pull in a bit of a southwesterly wind perhaps next week as the low pressure systems arrive in off the Atlantic, there could still be an uncertainty with that as the high pressure could hold on, but at the moment it's looking likely a milder air mass will push in, could get back down to the low, could get back up to the low teens there before we do drop off back toward the high single digits in the longer term. Sea level pressure is definitely on a rising trend. Again, that is pretty in line with the risk of high pressure blocking building. And if we do look at the dew points as well, still quite a few colder runs here. Nothing amazingly cold, but definitely some cooler runs showing drier and generally colder air potentially building in. And if we finish by looking at the latest ECMWF ensembles, these are the latest runs that just come out. Only goes out to 14 days at this stage, but we'll have another sort of day or so soon. Probably in about 10 or 15 minutes time, but we'll get this video out. You can see that generally we are hovering around average, maybe more above average in the longer term, and still quite a bit of precipitation. So there is a little bit of a discrepancy here. The models, the operational runs, definitely suggesting some sort of higher pressure building to our north. But when we look at the ensembles, we're not really seeing much of sort of an impact of that high pressure. Still remaining fairly unsettled and generally average temperatures. So interesting seeing what is going on there. The most likely scenario is the high pressure's there on a lot of the ensemble members, but they are building that westerly flow quite a bit stronger than some of the operational ones are, essentially negating the fact that the high pressure even exists, just giving more unsettled and generally milder conditions. You can see in the longer range here, the 2-meter temperatures are generally around that sort of 9 to 11 degree mark, so nothing too out of the ordinary, but there are some very cold runs, there are some milder runs as well. So there definitely are trends continuing of some high pressure blocking to our north over the next couple of weeks, but as you can see, there's nothing concrete at this stage, and it still is pretty up in the air as we do progress to the middle of the month. But as ever this time of year, things do swing very quickly. We've just got to keep a very close eye on it. As I said, tentative signs of some higher pressure meddling in the next week or two. And so we'll just see where it does go from here. So anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you have enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you again for another video soon.